This is called the ArthroStim. It's an amazing tool. It's an adjusting instrument. The whole goal of the ArthroStim is to induce movement, induce motion. Where there's movement, there's life. Where there's movement, there's less pain. The facts are is when you stimulate a joint with movement, you stimulate what are called mechanical receptors. Now, mechanoreceptors are neurons that, when they're stimulated, it turns down what's called nociceptors. Nociceptors are pain neurons. So the idea is by inducing movement and motion, you're going to decrease pain. So that's great. That's what most people are here for. Where there's movement, there's life, and when there's not movement, there's death. There's death of the tissues. If things aren't moving, they're fusing. So what we're going to do is show you how to use this tool, how to induce movement, how to induce motion, how to make specific adjustments. I'll show you a number of different techniques. We'll do it in sections. But the whole thing is I want you to be able to basically regurgitate what I just said. When a patient says, what is this for? Well, this is called the ArthroStim. Arthro means joint, stimulates means stimulator. So we're going to stimulate motion in the joint, and that's where the magic happens. Movement equals life. All right. So first part is we're going to just do a spine model. Now Jason here is one of our PMAs. Jason, come on over. Come around this way. Okay. So, number one, notice the physique on this guy. He is a specimen. Number two, he's getting ready to go become a chiropractor. So, he's actually here. We're going to do some training, and he's offered himself up to be trained more and also be our subject. So, idea on this is when the facet joints in the spine are all at about a 45-degree angle. So the angle, you want to go up the facet line with the ArthroStim. So try to always remember, even if a patient is seated, try to have the handle down so you can put motion up the facet plane line to induce motion into the spine. So here's basically spinal ArthroStim in neutral. We start down here on the sacrum. And if you can stabilize, just kind of watch where your hands go. You don't want to be reaching around where it's uncomfortable for a patient. But just make sure that the patient is stable. And you usually want to go up one segment at a time. You know, the Chinese have been stimulating the acupuncture points right alongside of the spine for the last 3,000 years. The bladder meridian runs right up and down the spine. So by doing this, not only are you inducing motion into the spine, but you're also stimulating the acupuncture points alongside the spine. And remember, every single spinal segment goes, and you want him in a neutral position. You see how he's trying to help me by putting his head down? You want to try to keep him in a neutral spinal posture position. But what you're doing is you're actually stimulating the electrical life force from the brain out to the body. Good. Now I'm going to show you more. Let's hold on that and let me explain something really important about the ArthroStim and about what you're actually doing. Now the reason that we're doing this is because you need to be able to explain this to the patients or remind the patients of what I'm just going to show you right now. As you're doing the ArthroStim, you can let them know, hey, we're bringing more of the life force through your body, out through the spine into your body. Here's what we know for sure. We know that the brain and the spinal cord make up the central nervous system. And we know that the brain is like a generator. It's generating the electrical life force in the body. It's what keeps us alive. And as it generates this electrical life force, that flows like water down through the spinal cord and out to every organ, every muscle, and every tissue of the body is under the direct control of the nervous system. And so here's the important thing, is that we need to make sure that the person has good posture and good mechanics through their spine to allow that electrical life force to flow through their spine to their body so they can have the health level that they want to have and also they can get out of pain. But since it flows like water through the spine, we know that the spine has specific curves here. The neurologists call this first curve the arc of life. It's very specific. Look over here for a second. Here's the specific research normals, 42-degree curvature in the neck, okay? And these spinal curves are important because this is what holds us erect, and it allows that life force to flow down through. And what we're looking at is making sure that the posture is as close to normal as possible. So let's go back over here. Let's talk about this life force that flows like water through a tube. What happens to a tube if you take a tube and you stretch it forward like that? What happens to the inside diameter? Does it get bigger or smaller?
Smaller.
Smaller, you're right. So what's going to happen to the flow? Is that going to be more or less?
Less.
Less. What do you think that's going to do if a person doesn't have the correct curve? That spinal cord is getting stretched. That flow is going to be lessened. What's going to happen to the rest of the body? Is it going to be as healthy as it could be?
Nope.
No. What happens to a hose when it gets a kink in it? If one of these vertebrae rotates out of place, what happens?
You pinch off the flow, you pinch off the life and the energy.
You got it right. And that's exactly what you're doing. When you're stimulating movement along here, you're opening those channels up. You're stimulating the pathways so the body can be healthy and the brain can communicate that life force down to every tissue, every muscle, every cell of the body. That's the big picture. That's what we do.